Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. We're continuing watching Wandavision. It's time for episode 6, all new Halloween Spooktacular. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me as usual is...
Hey guys, it's Prague as himself.
Unleash Hell Demon Spawn, this is DeLorean Wolfgang.
Choice.
Yeah. I wrote notes this week. Very small
Nice.
amount of notes. No, actually... I wouldn't even consider them notes. I'm sorry. I take that back. I just lied to you and the entire audience.
Oh. Well, for me, this was the
lied to
second
us?
episode where I had 2 pages of notes, so
Wow.
Wandavision is starting to roll.
WandaVision. Well, I guess we should jump into our non-spoilers. Let's get into it.
Right. Who wants to start?
I usually don't start, do I?
No, I know. You always pass it off to everybody else.
And then you're
All
like,
right.
I start every week.
You guys, I start every week.
Fine. Yeah, this was for me. This is probably the most fun episode. I still think the last episode was my favorite because of the tone of it was really like dark and sinister. This felt like almost like a blockbustery kind of film. It was a lot of fun, a lot of big action scenes and stuff. And I love Halloween episodes, so I didn't have a problem with really any of it. It's great to see some developments with some of the characters that we'll talk about in the spoiler review part of the thing. So far, I think this is the most fun episode of the series. So that's my review.
Interesting. Trevor?
I'll agree with Prague on the fun aspect of it. Like, this is kind of what I wish they would have done more with 50s, 60s, and 70s, where you really do the theme well, but there's still other stuff going on. So those ones really did the theme well, but there wasn't really anything going on. So it feels like they finally hit their stride on what they're doing. My one takeaway after it was over, though, was how at the end of episode 5, it was kind of like, whoa, I can't believe they just did that. And then episode 6, they somehow did something bigger, but it was under the radar and it wasn't obvious. And it's this really weird sensation when you finish the episode and you realize episode 5 wasn't that big of a deal. And this underhanded thing is a super big deal, and it's really great what they're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of like what ended the last episode really showed its cards this episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you have to really, like, at the end of the last episode, as soon as you finish watching it, it kind of is like, whoa. This one, you have to digest it for like a day, and you're like, damn, this is a big whoa.
Whoa. Oh, they should have done Blossom. Dang it. Anyway. Alex?
Well, everybody always knows what I say for every episode. That
Wandavision suck.
I just don't like it. But, my friends, this episode was the best out of the entire season. I actually really liked Wanda. I actually really liked Vision. I liked this whole episode. This is what I wanted. It had, like you said, Trevor, it had the fun nostalgia 90s, but then it still had the fun outside areas where it's like, oh, we need to get in, or we need to get out, or just something. It was just so cool, and I really liked it. So this was the one where I'm like, I even said to Prague pre-show, I really wanted to watch this again today. I mean, my life kind of took over, but I wanted to watch it again. Because it was fun, and I really wanted to soak everything in again, but I only got to watch it once. Oh well, I'll relive it with you guys right now.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll go through it scene by scene in a minute here.
Well, cool. Well, that was a pretty short, spoiler-free review right there. We might as well get into our socials, which you guys can all follow us over at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Look at Prague's doing it right now.
Yeah. Follow.
Surprised you haven't started a long time ago.
No.
Jeez.
Unreal, man. Hey, Trevor, we just got a new follower. Did you see the notification?
Yeah, I just got
Anyway.
That's how you do it.
So you can follow us all at Secondary Heroes on every platform. It's we do fun stuff on there, I like to think. But make sure you go on to iTunes and rate and review our shows, because it really helps getting new ears listening to us, and it's free for you and priceless to us.
Awesome. So we hope you enjoyed our spoiler-free portion, and hopefully you're watching WandaVision if you're listening to our podcast, because we're about to spoil every single aspect of the show, of the season, potentially of the future of the entire MCU. So let's go.
Oh, that's what you
All
guys
right.
are doing?
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
But before that, we have something special for everyone. It turns out it's the 2nd year anniversary of the Secondary Heroes podcast. We started way back in February 2019. It's been a long time, and now we're right in the middle of watching WandaVision. And to celebrate it, we have brand new enamel pins. So we have hard enamel pins, soft enamel pins, and we have a chase version. So you can, if you buy these as a bundle, you have a chance to get this one as well. So you have all these pin options for you of our awesome logo designed by the one and only Julie Beauvais. And then also for our 2-year anniversary, we're doing a giveaway. So we're going to give away a whole set of pins, but more importantly, we're going to give away this Funko Pop of Mr. Monopoly as he is on brand, secondary hero fashion, with the second prize in the beauty contest. So you get this whole item just by going on to Twitter. That's all you have to do. Twitter at Secondary Heroes, and you'll see the giveaway information, and you'll also see information on how to get our pins. And it's going to be pinned right to the top of our timeline. And come support us. Tell everybody about how awesome we are and win some stuff. Look how good these pins are. So that's that, and now we get back to spoiling WandaVision.
We're here to spoil the show. All right, let's dive right into it. So we get the intro, which is a big fun call out to Malcolm in the Middle.
Oh my god.
100%. Like the other ones have been like a balance of a few different things, but this was like
this was straight up
Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Full. That was one of my notes. I put a straight up Malcolm in the Middle retake.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was
fun. It was refreshing. Like that I guess because I had just recently watched Malcolm in the Middle the other day. I think it was just fun that like that show was fresh in my mind, and then this comes up and I'm like, yes, okay. And I think last week we said, oh, they'll probably do a Roseanne spinoff. But Roseanne
didn't happen.
Yeah, which I'm glad that they didn't. I'm glad that they didn't, because Roseanne's kind of more 80s than 90s, I would think. But anyways.
It's definitely 90s, I would say. I mean, technically, Malcolm in the Middle is 2000s, but...
Right.
Oh, yeah.
They were kind of bridging the gap a bit there.
Okay, yeah.
It's funny, though, because this is the first one that has started with the intro. Every other episode has something before the actual animated intro. This one, we're like going straight in, cam footage... and the lyrics and all kinds of starring. There's a lot to actually dissect. Like, there's that one where they just sing WandaVision over and over again from the 60s episode. And so this one, the lyrics actually tied into everything.
That's probably why it's stuck in my head, because it's just the same thing over and over again.
And I actually went through and wrote down all the lyrics. And whenever I was going through and writing them down, I'm like, wow, this seems a bit, because it's a punk rock ripoff or punk rock retake, and when you actually listen to the lyrics, it's like, ooh, this is actually going to be pretty interesting to learn more about.
Yep. So let's talk about those lyrics, shall we? Because the first time I was like so overwhelmed by it, I'm like, oh my god, we're getting Malcolm in the Middle. I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics, and then I had to go back and go, oh my gosh.
Well, the first line of it is, "Don't try to fight the chaos. Don't question what you've done." Right. Like, that's kind of a big deal,
right? You're not doing anything wrong. Just keep using your chaos magic. Just keep using it. You're fine.
But yeah, I don't know if we need to go lyric by lyric unless you guys want to. But I just found some of the lyrics to be actually quite interesting.
That's the big one. But also, just what if it's an illusion? So
that was a cool one too.
Yeah.
And then the "let's keep it going through each distorted day."
Yeah, there's no way of knowing who's coming to play.
This is fun. Like
today.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because especially because at the end of episode 5, we have Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies show up. So when you literally say in your intro song, "we don't know who's next coming to play," it means that he's just the first.
Mm-hmm. Who's next?
Well, and I think we've also discussed that before too. That Prague didn't think that Quicksilver was going to be the big
reveal,
Mark Hamill reveal.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I'm still pretty sure there's more to come.
Yeah,
as it was suggested.
And so
Anyway.
also once the intro is done, we do get to see the house again. And again, the house has changed. And the kitchen was almost spot on for Malcolm in the Middle kitchen. Like, I don't even know if they went and got the kitchen from the set and they're like, well, we'll just film it here because it was so
still
spot
here,
on.
so we'll just use it. Why not? I wonder if they do that. Maybe. I know there are a lot of shows that do reuse sets quite often, but I think this was a brand new set. But yeah, it did look spot on. It was pretty crazy.
And then there was two other fun things from the intro. First is the text they used was the Malcolm in the Middle text, the actual font for who it's starring. And then when it shows Agnes, she's wearing those jeans with the glitter on the butt, and it says naughty. I had to go back to see what it said.
Yeah, I had to keep pausing on her butt the whole time. I'm like, what does that word say?
That's kind of interesting because you guys have said this to me 1,000 times, is that Marvel doesn't put anything in if it doesn't mean something. So that's kind of cool, man.
What is she up to? I think she's being naughty and more than just, the usual
she's
ways.
really weird in this episode.
She is. But yeah, she is. And she is now part of the opening credits.
Yes.
So she's playing a bigger role than what.
Yeah, she's a recurring character now.
She finally made it. Finally made it. Good for her.
It only took 4 decades.
Right?
Oh my god.
Took a while. Agnes. And then we got Pietro Maximoff as himself.
Yes.
Unquote.
Himself.
Pedro. Pedro's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Pedro, yes. Good old Pedro. Oh, Pedro.
Cool. So what happens after the intro?
So this is the Halloween episode, and Wanda comes down, and she's in the classic Scarlet Witch outfit that we've seen from the trailers, one of the very first trailers. And one of the kids says, "Oh, are you dressed up as Old Red Riding Hood?" Which I just had to write that down because that was a great burn.
Dressed up as Old Red Riding Hood. Oh,
I like Old Red Riding Hood.
I thought she looked great, man. What a good costume. But you know what? Since last week, you guys kept mentioning that it's Mary-Kate and Ashley's sister, and I reminded myself watching it, oh, this is Mary-Kate and right once I would say it in my head, I saw she looks just like them. Yeah, I now see it. Not now them, because now them they're like gremlins, but you know what I mean.
Exactly. Yes, she looked very, very nice in that outfit. Very nice.
Yes. Well,
and
yes.
It was the shout out to being the Scarlet Witch outfit, which again in this universe she's never actually coined the term or adopted the name that we talked about last week.
Right, which is still weird. It's like he knows something. What? How does he know all this stuff? There's something really fishy about this guy, and it's really confusing me. Well, there's.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I just want to because there were a few things that happened before this that are kind of telling, I think, because before she comes down,
the kids are looking at Quicksilver on the couch.
Yeah, so they're looking at Quicksilver on the couch, and Billy says not to wake him up. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because he's scared of him. And, obviously his brother's like, oh, you think he's a vampire? It's like, no, I think since he's a telepath, he knows something about Pietro, that he's really not Wanda's brother. There's something up with this guy. He's scared of his uncle. Because that's
the vampire also ties into the whole undead thing, too, though. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not just vampires. Like, he could have picked any monster.
Right, any monster? No, the blood-sucking one, of course. Sucking.
Oh my God, guys!
Sorry, that's how the show is.
No, but that's why I'm so happy that we have this show where you guys tell me things, because I'm not gonna read the comics, and you guys know what's happening behind the scenes, and I love this now. It's making this show more fun. Like, I wanted to watch it again because I knew you guys would be talking about certain things that I would have just breezed right over. Like the vampire thing. I never even thought twice that he would, or the fact that the kid was a telepath and said that type of stuff. Like, oh, it's so good.
Well, I didn't pick that up the first time either. I was just trying to figure stuff out, and then when I went back and rewatched it, and I went, oh, that's right, because he can, read minds and stuff, so that would make sense that he would be suspicious of him. And then what does that mean? Who is this guy? More than meets the eye, that's for sure. So.
Everything on the show is more than meets the eye. They could have called it more than meets the eye.
They could have called it
Transformers. Yes.
Yes.
They could have. All right.
Yeah, where do we go from here?
So then Vision comes down the stairs.
Oh,
Actually,
booger.
before
That's
that, we have backstory played out. Quicksilver says, Wanda, do you remember when we used to go trick-or-treating? And they actually played out the backstory just like Malcolm in the Middle, where they go and they flash back, and they actually played out the flashback.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was cute.
Because they're dressed up as Nick Fury and Natasha, it looked like. So it's like, that was like based on her own memory. She's like, obviously they didn't do this, so who am I gonna like dress ourselves up as? This kid is okay, sure. Oh, and the oh no, never mind. We'll skip to this later because it happens later. Sorry, I don't want to skip it.
Right, so Vision comes down and he's in the full-on classic comics outfit, and then he says there was no other clothes in the closet.
Right?
Which
How rude,
that's
Wanda.
fun.
Yeah. Can you at least give him
Did
some
he paint
outfits?
his face too?
Every morning? It's like, oh, jeez, another day I have to paint my dang face. Here we go again, because he's in on it now. I mean, in this whole scene, you can tell that he knows what's up. He's just playing along to make her happy. So
well, I love the his like or not excuse, but like instead of, I mean, we all see it and we think, oh, that's the classic Vision, that's the classic Wanda. But he says that he's a Mexican luchador wrestler.
Right, that was funny.
I'm like, that's great.
Well, not only that, when he starts playing around, he's like Bryan Cranston in Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, it was very Malcolm in the Middle. That whole thing was just like that. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to see him in that role as Bryan Cranston. He was playing it up. He liked it. Chili con carne. Ooh.
Yeah, because in Malcolm in the Middle, the parents were like highly sexual.
Oh yeah, they were horny all the time. I mean, he walks around in his tidy whities. Like I think everyone on that show walked around in underwear for like the first season.
Well, no, like, he was naked. I'm pretty sure he was naked. Like the very first episode, he's totally naked while the wife is shaving his back or something like that.
Sorry,
yeah.
Yes, it is that show.
Just think of the actor turned by Bryan Cranston from being the dad on Malcolm in the Middle and what's happened since then.
Oh my God, right?
Walter White of all people, my goodness. Talking about an about face. Holy cow. What an actor.
Crazy.
Kudos to him. Anyways. So that was a fun little scene, calling him a booger. I liked it. A booger.
Right, and then he kisses her on the cheek to leave. It's like, yeah. And then she says be good to when they're about to leave, but then you don't have it was weird to say be good to Vision. That's like what you say when Billy and Tommy are going out.
Right.
Yeah, he did do that. It was almost, I even wrote that down in my notes because it was like, ooh, because he almost stuck it for a beat. It was like,
oh yeah.
It was a beat where it was like, you could tell that it was
be good. And if you watch Elizabeth Olsen's face during these scenes, she's always like pretty tense and apprehensive at times. Like okay, stop. Like she's almost like she's trying to tell everybody to stop trying to break the illusion, Yeah. Because she knows that that Vision is now aware. So she's like, just tone it down a bit. I'm trying to have my, fake reality here. So that was interesting.
Now, did you guys notice that one of the kids, he looks like he's dressed up like Doctor Strange?
Stop saying this. Oh my God. I had this argument the other day with Yoko.
How did he, with Yoko?
Yeah, well, because she's not the first person that mentioned that he looked like Doctor Strange, and I didn't get that at all. Because
really, he's got the eyebrows. He looks just like him.
He's dressed up as his exact replica from his comic book character.
Oh,
like exactly. So, but he doesn't look like Doctor Strange. I don't know where people are getting this. It doesn't look anything like.
He's wearing a cape, and the cape is coming up to his ears.
It's wrapped around him like a tarp.
I'm watching the show right now, Prague.
Peter, put it away. No cheating. Yes, I know. Apparently everyone thought he was Doctor Strange, who doesn't know who Wiccan is in the comics, was really confused, I guess. Maybe they should have done a better job with the headband. That probably would have been a better giveaway if they had changed the headband out a little bit more. It was almost too basic, because you know how Wanda and and Vision had their toned down basic versions from the comic books. I think they went too far basic for him.
Gotcha. Sorry about this, everybody. I just got a text from my wife saying that I'm too loud, so let's continue.
Oh, well, that brings us to the fight that they had, right? They're not really fighting, but there's something off about them. And while Billy is telling this to the camera, you can see Pietro looking at him the whole time. Like, he's just sitting there dead-eyeing him as he's talking to the camera, which is creepy to me.
Oh, yeah. He almost gives him like a, who are you talking to?
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was creepy. I liked it, though.
I never even would have noticed that the first time. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it was fun.
Right.
All right. What's next? Sorry.
So then Quicksilver, he needs an outfit. And so we get to actually see him go and get his outfit.
Ridiculous.
It's again, the broken down version of what he would actually normally wear.
What I find funny about the costume, even though the hair is spot on to the comics, it does kind of represent devil horns. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. That was
so you guys are leaning on the fact that this guy is going to be bad in some way. A devil.
Everyone's going to be bad in some way that we think might be.
Yep.
Hayward, Pietro, Agnes.
Everyone. Dottie.
Pretty much everybody.
The mailman, the beekeeper. The beekeeper became evil. He just decided. He's like, I'm in now.
Still want to know what's going on with the beekeeper.
Oh,
the mailman is definitely evil.
Yeah.
What? Did I miss something there?
The mailman from episode 5, where he's like,
"Don't shoot the messenger."
Like, yeah. Do what your mom says or something. I don't know. It was some weird thing.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Or he said, "Yeah, your mom won't let you because you won't let you get far or something." So yeah, the mailman's sus too, man. Everybody is. So all right, what do we got next?
Well, I think at this point we now leave the show and now we're in the real world.
Yeah, so now we zoom back out.
Yeah.
And so we're back outside of the void.
Yep.
And Darcy and Monaco go in, and Hayward asks, so which one is the sassy best friend?
Wow. Oh, Hayward. Oh, that guy. He thinks he's funny. But he's not, because what he says next is pretty messed up.
Well, yeah, then he gets into, like, I wrote down, he just dives into being King Prick. Like, he has no character development. He is like a total one note, just
straight up
prick. he just, like, he really tries to be as obstinate and against them as possible because those are the characters that we know, and he needs to be the adversary for them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this guy. I want to say that they're going to throw a curveball in there with him. Like, maybe he is good after all. Like, maybe they're trying to build him up as this bad person, and we're going to think that he might be Mephisto or somebody orchestrating things too, but who knows?
He's too one note right now.
Yeah, there's something weird about that.
I can see what you're saying. Like it's almost like they're building him up like to distract you.
Right, to distract you from the real bad guy, right?
From the real bad guy.
We don't assume there's going to be a bad guy on the inside.
He could be, like you said, he could be a good guy that is just acting like a prick. Because movies do that all the time, where it's like...
Like, you don't understand what I went through the last, 5 years you guys were gone, or the 4 years,
Yeah, like the clueless, like he's kind of clueless on that. Yeah, okay, yep.
We'll see, though. See what happens.
We're tracking.
That's right. And now they get...
Yeah. While they're getting kicked out, the question is posed of who do you work for?
Who's your daddy?
Who do you work for is interesting because Wu says you don't have jurisdiction over me as an FBI agent. It was this whole weird thing of who's actually calling the shots behind Hayward. Like, there's still somebody. There's always a bigger fish.
Who's the bigger fish? I don't know.
But yeah, they get kicked out. The 3 characters that we know get kicked out, and then they do the fun knocking out the guards, and then they dress as the guards because you have to do that in some show at some point.
Classic. Yeah, no one's gonna recognize them with the hood over their face. Not at all. Classic Marvel. I put a hat on. No one will know who I am.
Quite the disguise.
Right?
The Rambo impediment.
Yes. All right. So they've done.
So then we go back inside. So heroes on the outside are on the way, and so the camera zooms through the crowd in the fun Malcolm in the Middle style to focus on Billy. It's just a fun little pan through, and then this is when they're kind of talking like what we're gonna do for Halloween, and the guy who's playing Quicksilver is just on fire. He's just like nailing the scene. He's just hilarious. It's just great stuff. And then this is when they go and Wanda starts talking to Herb, and he gets like their silly string on people. The pumpkins are smashed. All the candy's gone, and you see it all happen in the background. And then you get to see that Billy or Tommy is capable. Or do we not find that out yet?
Not yet.
I think
not yet.
isn't that
Okay.
later? Yeah.
A little bit later, yeah. I think what we find out right now is what Alex pointed to was Unleash Hell, Demon Spawn.
Yes.
It's kind of like, yeah, obviously.
When you
Mephisto's
hear
cool.
that, yeah, immediate like that's why I wrote that down, is because you guys have been talking about this devil character who could possibly be a part of this.
And it could be a red herring.
And then there's stuff like this where they say Unleash Hell, Demon Spawn.
Oh, that's what it was. She said, "I'll turn you into a pickled herring," saying that he is a red herring.
Oh,
So he might not be
my
Mephisto at all,
God.
right?
Yeah.
No, she
I
literally
remember
says
that
it.
Herring. Yeah.
I'll turn you. She could have turned him into anything if she chose a pickled herring. He even got a pickled herring on Halloween in his basket. He is the red herring.
At this point, I think I'm just gonna sit back and listen to you guys talk, because
No, you've had good stuff. Come on.
I am missing everything.
Okay, I'm trying to think what else happened there.
Well,
So that might have been important.
Well, isn't this where they sit down and talk to each other?
No, that's later. This is when
Later,
Wanda's
okay.
talking to Herb, and Herb says, "Hey, Wanda, is there anything I can do for you? Anything
Right,
changed?"
The heck?
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
Herb is he's not just one of the mind-controlled people.
Yeah, him and Agnes, man, they're in cahoots or something. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
There's something.
But then
going
he
on.
also gets to tell her that Vision is not on duty.
Yep.
Right.
She's like, what?
And
What is Vision doing?
Our understanding when he left the house was that he was going to be a part of the neighborhood watch. I don't think we discussed that already.
Right,
Yeah,
no,
but-
that's what he said. That was his false pretense for going out.
Right.
And not trick-or-treating with the kids tonight.
Yep. But I also like the throwaway line about kick-ass. And she's like, kick-ass? Interesting. Since both Quicksilvers were in Kick-Ass together. It was a fun nod to the comics.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both in the film version of the comics, Kick-Ass. So I thought it was kind of funny. I don't know if that
And their
really
outfits
meant
had that
anything.
total vibe, too.
Yeah. So,
Man.
yeah.
I am. Yep. Sit back.
And
and
she even
it's
repeated
okay.
it for effect. So
Yeah.
it meant something. It was either just a straight up Easter egg or maybe it meant more. Who knows? Not too sure.
So then we do pan to Vision, and Wanda, I guess, once Vision brought up the idea that there was no kids, she like doubled down and got a bunch of
oh yeah,
kids
she's like,
to
oh,
Westview.
I'll show you, buddy.
So there's like
Oh
millions
my
of kids in
God.
Westview
Yeah,
now.
there's
They're
so
everywhere, scattered around. And then he sees the lady crying on loop when she's putting her clothes hanging on the clothesline. And this is when we get to more of the Halloween aspects. Like this starts to get like really creepy village thing as Vision goes further and further out.
You should have tried to take a picture with a flash to wake her up. That's what you should have done. Just like get out. Then she would have woken up and been like, I'm just, under control.
Well, I thought that it was cool because it's almost like Wanda is controlling everybody that's within like a certain vicinity of herself and her family.
Right, she has a boundary.
Well, I'm talking about a smaller boundary around her, not
Yes,
the
that's what I
big
meant.
boundary around the city, but a small one. So like whenever you walk around in a video game, you walk into a certain area, and then all of a sudden the NPCs start moving and start talking and start doing things. This is
It's
essentially
just like that. Because they don't have to load in the areas you don't have to. This is literally you go and there's a loading scene and they have to load them in once you're in that vicinity. And so when
Right.
Vision is a part of her, it doesn't work. You have two playable characters, and it's tough to display that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun. I liked it a lot. The actress who played that looks familiar to me, and I couldn't figure out who she was. I tried looking up online, and I'm not too sure who that actress is, if she's been in anything else, but her face looked very familiar to me. So I'm not
Fans,
too
if
sure.
you
You guys
know,
knew. Let me
clothesline
know,
lady.
please. Clothesline lady. She's crying, the little deer. Who is she? I swear I've seen her before in something.
I gotta
I
look
just
it
don't
up.
know what. So I don't know.
So
All right, what
now
happened?
it's time for a commercial break.
Ooh, a fun commercial.
Yeah, and so this is a totally 90s commercial. Like these are all the commercials I watched when I was little. You have this little animated shark who's talking, and they're giving Yo Magic, which is a snack for survivors. And ironically, the kid who needs it cannot open the lid to access it. And they literally show him collapse into bones.
It's great. He's all sitting there. He just can't open it. Shaking his little hand as he dies. Good Lord. That was some
And then
dark
the shark
stuff.
comes back in after he dies and
Yeah.
says the slogan again.
Oh, magic. Oh, I love it. We're sick and twisted. So what does it mean? This is the first time we've seen a commercial that wasn't really directly tied to her grief. It was something that was kind of happening now, which is weird.
And
Usually
it didn't have the two people.
No, so
And
what's
it didn't.
going on?
That was my takeaway. Is it didn't have the two people.
It's a game changer. Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. I've been hearing a lot of theories. I'm not too sure I'm sold on any of them right now, if I'm being honest.
I'm curious. What are some of the theories that you heard about this commercial?
Well, when I first watched it, my first guess was that the kids and the people in town were dying and needed her magic to survive, because obviously if they're on the outside of town frozen, they're going to starve to death. They need your magic.
They
can't. Your magic to live. Right? But I've heard other people say, no, it's about Wanda. Wanda will die without the magic. And I've heard, no, Vision's the one that needs magic and he'll die. I'm like, I don't know. I think it ties back to the people in town possibly starving to death without her magic.
I like that just because the commercial came right after we first were introduced to those kinds of people.
Right. So that's my guess, and I haven't really heard anyone say that yet, which is kind of weird. Because I'm like, that's the first thing I thought of, is that they need the magic. And this ties back to this as well. But if you notice, a lot of the costumes, especially the kids, are all wearing skeleton outfits. Not all of them, but most of them are. And I even went through certain scenes, and some of them look like they're actually dead, not like a costume, but like actual skeletons that are rotting away.
What?
It is really so creepy.
I only noticed one kid. He was wearing a Jason mask and a Freddy sweater.
That was that awesome costume.
That was like the one kid that I pointed out of the whole thing. Like if I was able to do the second watch, I probably would have sat there and paused it because I wanted to see some of the other costumes.
But there was an alarming amount of skeletons in this episode. I know it's Halloween, but to have that many people and kids have the same exact costume was kind of weird. Are these kids all dead and she just resurrected them? Did she oh shoot, we don't have any kids here. Let's dig some up out of graves and, use their bodies.
And so I didn't notice the skeletons, but when we do come back from the commercial break, the first thing Quicksilver says is oh, you want me dying in the street like some kind of chump? And I equated that to him and Ultron. I didn't equate it to all these kids who are literally wasting away in the streets.
Yeah.
I only saw the obvious connection.
There you go. This show's working on layers, man. I don't know. But if you think about it, now I just think about this right now too, those kids in the costumes, they're completely covered head to toe. So for all we know, they're rotting bodies under those costumes. The ones that have
them
skeleton.
For this episode,
right,
too.
That's all. Quick, hurry up. Let's go. Dig you up. Let's use some bodies. I could be wrong, but I think there's a morbid aspect to this episode. I think that might be it.
And if there is any kind of Devil or Mephisto connection, you do have quick access to dead bodies.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, this is crazy, guys.
Crazy.
So now I'm looking up this stuff. I'm looking up at least screenshots from the show. And I guess there's a part where the two little kids are talking to each other. And in the background, you can see Pietro talking with Wanda. But Pietro's face is focused on the kids while they're talking to each other. And he's got this super devil face. His face looks super eerie and devilish. And he's just sitting there smiling with this giant grin at the two kids as they're walking away from him.
And remember, in the beginning of the episode, when he was leaving when Vision was leaving for the day, and they wanted somebody to go with the kids, that he would step in as the father figure. I have the XY chromosomes. Like he is the real father, not Vision.
Well, that's weird.
Wink, wink. Yeah. Yep. That's because he's not really your brother, so it's okay.
We'll get to how weird he is as a character.
Yeah. But yes, he is very much very interested in those two children. So I think those are the demon spawn.
And so then we come back, and from the commercial break, on the movie theater behind him, there's two movies playing, and it's The Incredibles and The Parent Trap. And so these movies won't be playing at the same time. One came out in 1998, and one came out in 2004. And if this is a 90s thing, the 2004 Incredibles one is definitely an outlier. So you wonder, why did they pick these two movies? They could have picked any movies pretty much of all time. And so for me, The Parent Trap has twins that are separated. And so that's the whole obvious connection with Tommy and Billy plus Wanda and Pietro. But then The Incredibles is a whole super family. And that's obviously on display because now this sets up when we learn about what Tommy and Billy can do. If you're unaware with the comics, the show is going to tell you right now.
Yep. It's a spoiler warning. They have powers, man. That whole
cool little detail too.
It is a fun detail.
That's a really fun detail. And I mean, could they have done that without being a Disney property? Because those are two Disney movies right there.
They are.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Everything's Disney.
Come
on,
both Disney.
At this point. What is it?
Oh my goodness. And there's something else in the background. Oh, that's weird. So something that says Halloween, but it's in the font of oh god, what are the Teen Titans? It's a Teen Titans font. It's weird to me why they would put a DC thing in this like it's even yellow just like the Teen Titans font. I'm going to put this in our chat just so you guys can see it as well.
Mega crossover.
So then this is the point where Wanda starts talking to Pietro, and she asks him like a memory question, like, do you remember this? And he's like, oh, what, are you testing me? And then they ask the question about the accents and all this stuff. And then he says that, I don't know, I was just in the street, and then all of a sudden I heard you calling me.
Yeah. So that tells the audience that, yeah, this is not the Fox. We're not doing the whole Fox X-Men thing at this moment. But I also think it's, meant to be there to like go, no, look, Wanda, I really am your brother, and he's not.
Well, is this the point where they show the gunshots?
Not quite.
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought that was right there.
They talk twice. So this is like the kind of first talk where the audience plus Wanda questions him. The next talk is like a whole weird, like it's the weirdest thing they've done in WandaVision. But to Alex's point, that totally is the Teen Titans go.
Okay, font. Thank you. I'm so glad that you saw that.
Says Halloween.
Yeah.
I have no idea why they would add that in there. That's so weird. Okay.
So then Tommy has super speed, and he goes and runs off. And so now we transition back out. And then, like any good movie or TV show, hacking skill is on display where people just rapidly tap the keyboard. Look, they're hacking stuff because they're tapping
I did
it.
I did it. That's how you hack.
Wait, this drove me nuts because this room, you could tell that they built this room and they just said, I want as many blinking lights in the background as possible.
It looked like such a fake
BS. Like, I don't. What place on Earth has that many? A black room with just 1,000 blinking lights.
Who knows? Maybe this is all part of like her show as well. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I think it was just a last minute thing. Shoot, we need a server room. Slap on some lights.
We need a server.
Hurry. We need blinky lights. Somebody. Stat.
This looks legit.
And so this lets Darcy access inside Westview, and they realize that they're tracking Vision. They can go by the vibranium to go and track him. And
they're tracking Wanda. Because it's not about Wanda.
The one thing that was interesting is, so in the MCU, they've only done vibranium. They've never done antimantium, right?
Yet.
I know. And so that's the yet thing is kind of the questions I'm coming up with this whole episode. This is getting weird. Whenever we go to the outside, they drop us these little things that are so weird. But anyway, they kind of Darcy realizes that Wanda can only manage so many people at once. And so the outside's realizing kind of what Vision is realizing in real time. And so then they transition back to Vision, and he's further out of town, and people are just completely frozen. It's not a loop or anything. It's just like everything is completely frozen. And this is where it's super creepy Halloween, where he's walking through streets of just frozen, essentially dead people.
Frozen dead kids. I'm telling you, man.
And so Vision finds it comfortable enough to go to his normal self and to go fly around and kind of really get what's going on in Westview.
Yeah, I like that. I like that scene a lot because, I mean, obviously it's a cool set piece, but they also desaturated the background in his scenes the further he got away from her, so that his outfit became more colorful, and it was kind of neat. It was like almost like everything was kind of decaying the further they got away from Wanda. Like she didn't have to render color or anything. It's like, all right.
Wow, yeah,
that's cool.
That's really cool.
So nice touch.
And he's going up to the street that Wanda told the kids never to go to.
We didn't mention that. She told the kids not to go past Ellis Avenue, which is probably a nod to President Ellis in the MCU, and also I think it was Warren Ellis, the writer, comic books writer.
Oh, look at that!
That was kind of fun Easter egg that I enjoyed.
Sip of the hat.
Yeah. Or Ellis Island, I don't know.
I thought it was somehow tied to Ellis Island in some kind of
That's
fight
what I'm
in
thinking,
Avengers
but I didn't
Day.
want to overreach. Because that's my guess, is it might be an X-Men tie-in, but we'll see. You never know.
That's
what
so
might happen.
funny because like I looked at it like, oh, okay, so they can't go past Ellis Avenue. Okay.
There's a reason why it's called Ellis, I'm sure. They have their reasons. It might be multi-layered. At this point, I think everything is.
And so then
Vision
is going almost to Ellis Avenue, and there's somebody in the station wagon there, and it's our well-known Agnes. And this is where Agnes acts super peculiar, because in previous episodes we have a basic idea that she knows what's going on. She breaks the fourth wall. She's kind of aware of what Wanda's doing and all this. And now it seems like I have no idea what's going on. So Vision zaps her out of it, and then she gets to throw fun buzzwords out like, "Are you here to help us? Aren't you an Avenger?" And he's like, I don't know what an Avenger is.
Help us. She's like giving him his lines. She's literally feeding him his lines.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so creepy. This whole thing. Because like, if I were Vision, I'd be like, wait a second. Those people weren't moving. You're further out. Why are you moving? But he didn't make that connection for some reason.
He never made that connection. Like, I thought it was so obvious. Like,
yeah, I'm like, come on,
Agnes
Vision
can move around and stuff and talk to you. She can interact with you. You don't think that she's maybe playing you or anything at all, that there would be some kind of nefarious purpose to her? Because then she says, "Am I dead?" And then she starts saying "dead" over and over again, staring at him and saying "dead."
Yep. A little chanting there. That was creepy.
Well, hold on. Let's also keep in mind that she's dressed up like a witch.
Mm-hmm. That's to say, maybe a red herring. Maybe she's not Agatha Harkness. Maybe she's some other character that we think is going to be her, but she's
Agatha Harkness.
At this point, it was so weird. I was like, what is happening? Are they playing this so on the nose at this point? Like,
and for those who don't know at home, Agatha Harkness is a witch who taught Scarlet Witch the magic in the comics. Sorry, I literally looked it up right once you guys said it.
Did you almost say Scarlett Johansson there? Sounded like
almost. Because
that's what I thought. That's what I thought. That's okay. But yeah, the whole scene was kind of fun. I thought, saying that he was dead. I also thought that at one point she was grabbing herself as if she was trying to reach for her brooch that wasn't on her. So if you look at her in that scene, she's not wearing that brooch that she usually wears in every episode that's predominant around her neck. I wonder if she was looking for it. And maybe now that Pietro is in town, that brooch is gone. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if he was tied to the brooch in some way.
There's a whole question mark of how Agnes and Pietro are potentially connected, but we'll talk about that once we get through Pietro's portion of the program. But she also does "All Is Lost," and she has a hysterical laugh, and that's when he zaps her back. Like, he's just had enough of whatever crazy stuff she's doing.
Go sleep. It is too weird for me. Go away.
But then she's able to do a U-turn. She doesn't go back to being frozen like everyone else is on the outskirts of town. She's like, cool, I'm going back. And it's not like, that's weird that Agnes is the only person who can move about the world.
Right. Yeah, Vision.
Well,
Come on.
and how is it? I mean, do you guys actually think that anything that Vision did to her, like him touching her head or anything like that, or do you think she was just sitting there acting the whole time? Maybe
It
she
seems
was
like
sitting
she's
there.
acting.
Yeah, I think
She could
she
be- Yeah, she could be acting, and honestly, she's probably sitting there just in case someone was to come up to that, or like maybe the kids, if the kids came up to the Ellis
She might be
Avenue.
Border Patrol. Yeah.
In a way, yeah, Border Patrol.
There you
Except
go.
Because
she
what's the
kind of
point of her
encourages
actually
him.
being out there?
Right.
Like, I could see her stopping the boys, but she literally pretty much encourages Vision to keep going. It's really interesting. Like, because we already know she gives the creepiest looks to Vision at all times. She really despises him at its core being because he's just a dead robot walking around.
Yeah, I don't think she likes him. I mean, I said this was it last episode, the episode before, where she like looked at him all creepy and weird. Like she didn't want to look at him at all. Like, no,
Right.
She's not like
Exactly.
Vision. He's a dead body walking around. Like, get rid of him. Get out of here. You're not part of our plan. You're not the father. Get out. So yeah, she's like, go in, go
You
die.
are not the father.
Yeah, you're not the father. Congratulations. All right, let's move on.
And so now we go back outside. So Vision's taken off and Agnes turns around. And it turns out we get this fun little scene that has gigantic ramifications that I don't know why they didn't mention more in the show. I guess that's how it is. Anyway, conveniently enough, Monica has a guy to help them get back in the Hex because everyone always has a guy to do stuff.
Of course.
And that guy could be anybody, but Monica specifically knows someone who could help. And then Darcy tells her, I don't think you should go again because when you go in there, there is a change on a molecular level to your cells. And Monica just shrugs it off like that doesn't mean anything. And so at the core idea,
That's sus.
Monica
Sorry.
Rambeau is building her way towards something that
Oh, yeah.
is in the comics where she actually has ability. So that's core idea. But on the flip side, for the bigger MCU picture, it's what Prog mentioned, I think, in episode 1 or 2. In House of M, Wanda takes away all mutant abilities. That's what she does. And so it looks like they're inverting it. And so Wanda's going to give, or she's going to activate the mutant gene and everyone that actually has it on the planet, because the Hex is going to keep getting bigger,
it's gonna keep
and everyone
going.
it touches is going to activate the mutant gene. And this is how they're going to introduce X-Men into the MCU, because they didn't have the traditional timeline, so they had to rapid fire it in, and it's pretty brilliant.
Pow, right there. And they did, yeah, they blew it off. It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
Like,
it's such an understated thing.
knew.
It's like the big idea of all of MCU, and Darcy just says it, Monica shrugs off, and they leave.
Yeah, it's just my mutant X gene. Nah, don't worry about it. No biggie.
Oh
So, yeah.
my god.
And if
I
that is
just-
the case, that begs the question: who is the first mutant? Is it her children? Are they technically the first one because they are the firstborn in that reality to have powers? Or is Monica the first one because she's the first one to have left the Hex and developed powers? I don't know. It's
Yeah,
something to
because
think.
we haven't seen
Sure.
Billy and Tommy exist outside of the Hex. Monica's
So
the only
it-
one who has.
I wonder if once this is all said and done, and if that is the case, who Marvel is going to credit as being the first mutant in the MCU. That's what I'm excited for. So, anyways, but that was a big scene, like Trevor said. That
It's a
was
gigantic scene, and again, to those who haven't followed the comics, X-Men were Marvel from
That's it,
1963
ever.
until like mid 2000s when they decided to do the House of M storyline, and then Avengers got more pub, and then MCU came up, and X-Men kind of went on the back burner because Fox kind of dropped the ball and everything. But this is a gigantic deal for Marvel. X-Men has always been their bread and butter and main thing, and there's so many X-Men fans.
Yeah. So this is a big deal, folks.
Oh my
Buckle up.
God. Well, and we haven't gotten to the Hex growing yet.
No, not even
so-
yet. We're
okay.
still
Yeah.
a big scene.
This just sets up what it means that the Hex is going to grow. Because just the Hex growing doesn't mean that much. The idea that it can change your cells at a molecular level, it's going to impact everything as the Hex
right,
grows.
and if her guy happens to be Reed Richards, which is what some people are expecting, is other people from the Fantastic Four going to be with him when they drive into the Hex and get transformed together? I don't know.
See, So me and Prague talked about this before the episode started. I don't think WandaVision's going to be that. Like, I think X-Men's a big enough thing for WandaVision to do. I don't think they're going to be like, oh, here's Fantastic Four, and pretty much just every possible thing you could imagine is also because of Wanda. I think they're going to
everything in the kitchen sink.
But I guess it could be that guy could be Reed Richards for Monica. Who knows?
Sorry, I had to scrape my jaw off the ground because.
Fantastic.
Oh wow! I never even would have thought about that.
Did we blow your mind?
Oh boy! Yeah, dude, I'm.
Well, I mean,
see, this is what's making the show more fun for me.
No, they're obviously hinting at that, whether they do it or not. They want you to be invested. They're like, oh, your God, you keep mentioning this mystery guy. So I think that whether it's a Reed Richards or not, it's been a lot of fun playing this whole guessing game week after week.
Yeah. And again, last week, just to beat the point down again, when they introduce Quicksilver and you think it's from the X-Men franchise and setting up a multiverse and that might actually be a red herring, but you're blowing your mind. And this time it's not the end of the episode. It's within everything that Wanda's doing and Vision is doing. It's just kind of a little side 2-minute thing. It's the actual biggest reveal that's been in WandaVision, and it could set up the whole Phase 4 and everything.
It's funny.
Unreal, man. This is making this show so much more fun.
Yeah.
Wow. The show's pretty good.
It is.
You always love show with layers.
Yeah, get rid of the first 3 episodes, and this is a great show.
I think you might have great appreciation for them now. I'm going to rewatch it eventually.
Yeah, rewatch them. You'll have fun with them.
You still haven't rewatched Endgame. You're going to rewatch this before that?
Oh, definitely, probably not. But I might watch it one day.
Wait, definitely, probably not. Okay, hold on. I'm like, let me wrap my. I'm so tired right now. So wrapping my head around that.
We still have a few more scenes to get to.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
And so we go back to inside, and Quicksilver's talking to Wanda. I think Mom and Dad would have loved this. And what kind of sentences? What? No. The ones who got blown up and generated your entire reason that you're so easily swayed to the dark side or whatever. Just shut up. And then where were you hiding the kids is a fun question.
Mm-hmm.
So this gets into the whole moral. So this is when Quicksilver kind of shows his cards to not be Quicksilver, because he starts talking as though this is an experiment, and he's talking to a fellow lab partner or something about, oh, it was really interesting how were you able to get all these kids and get the moral considerations to balance how you put families together. And it's like, this does not compute with the Quicksilver character.
Yeah, he knows everything. He knows the ins and outs of what's been happening since day one. What?
Breaking the fourth wall.
Where were you hiding the kids, Wanda? The whole time, where were they?
Is he the beekeeper? I'm kidding. Maybe. Yeah, where was he? All the questions, man. Yeah, it was really
the fun line where he's like, last time I knew you, this is not some generating nightmares and red squigglies that come out of your hands. This is mind control over a massive scale.
Now, at first I thought that line was funny. Then I thought, well, wait a second. They've mentioned Nightmare and Nightmares a few times now in this episode. I wonder if the bad guy is Nightmare, who is supposed to be the villain in the Doctor Strange movie coming up, and this is where we meet him for the first time. Maybe the whole Mephisto thing was the red herring, and it really is Nightmare. I don't know. Or that just...
God. Now I have to look up Nightmare, Marvel.
Good idea to introduce your antagonist in the TV show before the movie. But
then he also asks, he says, Wanda, you can trust me. I'm not some stranger.
Right?
I'm not your husband.
Mm-hmm.
So I know who you are, but you're not my brother. But then this also flashes to a dead version of him where he has the 3 bullet holes in his chest, just like when he dies in Ultron. So I don't exactly... This is where I get to the whole question of, are Agnes and Quicksilver almost the same connected mind, where he can only possess one at a time, and that's why Agnes has to be way outside of town, because Quicksilver's so close to Wanda right now.
Right, that's why she was clutching her pearls. She was clutching that.
They can't both be there at the same time.
Yeah, he was missing, wasn't with her anymore. She was searching for him and realized, oh, okay, he's loose. Yeah, I agree. I think they are one in the same mind in some way.
Wait. What? So, never mind. Please continue.
Okay, all right. I had a thought about Pietro here, but I think I lost it. It was something to do with the way he was talking, I think.
Well, he lost
said,
kind of like he got more scientific with the way he was speaking too.
Yeah, it was just weird. Like, oh, that's what it was. Because the bullet holes, he was showing her grief. They keep wanting her to grieve. You know, it's like, oh, okay, let me remind you. Let me, put some bullet holes in me.
Like that generates her most power, right?
Right. Like, is everything okay? Like that way he said that line. Like, what the heck, buddy? Creepy.
And also, so Pietro asks her again how you did this, and she again says, I don't know. She keeps being oblivious to how this started. She kind of just almost like Vision woke up in Westview.
Yeah. Who's behind us all?
Scarlet Witch is just like the tool.
That's what I'm thinking. She's the tool behind it. They realized that she was a weapon.
Actually holding it. Yeah.
Who's holding the key? Who's pulling the strings?
Well, where do we go from here? Because now I'm just excited to hear what's going on next.
A really creepy scene. Just the way Pietro talked about this whole Westview as an experiment, as like you're using bacteria or something and not actual human lives. It was really creepy.
Yeah.
And so then we go back to. Go ahead.
Continue. I was gonna say I wanted to mention the canned laughter that was thrown in there too. Like the Wilhelm scream usually shows up. This time it was the children laughing creepily.
Oh,
that's a famous canned laughter.
Oh, and it's awful. It's just as bad as the Wilhelm scream. It's not as bad, but it's up there. It's one of those.
But once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that.
It makes me shudder. I hate it. I hate it
but
so much.
But they did it on purpose here, which was fun.
Do you think that they did it on purpose? Do you think they did it on purpose just because it's a 90s show, or did it on purpose for another reason that I don't know and that I'm gonna learn about right now?
Or it could be they did it because all the children are dead and they couldn't laugh because they're dead.
Yeah, so you have to just use canned
laughter. So you got to use canned laughter?
Saying.
We should look that laughter up and then pipe it in.
And so then Vision, we go back to Vision, and now he's reached the edge of the hex, and he decided he's going to force his way through. And so now he's literally kind of pulling, as it's kind of grabbing back at him. He's trying to push his way through the hex slowly but surely, and he starts to break to pieces as he's doing this. And this shows Vision's true character. Like, this always gets kind of the conundrum of androids and synthetic organisms of what it means to be human and having soul. Vision always has the humanity to help people. He's literally breaking into pieces, and all he wants to do is tell them, help, there's people inside here that are trapped. That's all his purpose is.
Willing to die to get this information out to them.
Yeah. And again, it just shows that humanity that he has.
Yeah.
And then Billy hears Dad outside. So we saw Tommy with the fast pace, and so now Billy actually gets to hear. We get to see that he can sense Dad is in agony, and he can sense where he is, and so that shows his powers off. And then the funny one, so again, he's struggling and he needs help, and all those guys are standing out there and they're not helping at all. And Darcy's like, you got to help him. What do you look? He's dying right there. And then we go back to Pietro, and he says, it's not like your dead husband can die twice.
Yeah, come on, buddy.
What was up with that?
Wanda blasts him back. Regardless of who he is, she literally tosses him away, and that's when she, again, this is that emphasis on her grief, and that's her most powerful thing. She decides to expand the hex. Yeah. Like, the purpose is to get Vision back in, but it's just such an massive amount of power activated through her grief. Because it goes way past where Vision is. It's not like she just made this little piece for Vision to be back in the hex, because he's like 5 feet outside of it.
Yeah, right, but pretty big.
My thought of her doing that was she doesn't know where she is, so she's like, well, screw it, I'm just gonna make this thing much bigger, and he's
Sure,
going
that's
to
part of it.
eventually get in. That's all I imagine. And
I
this was
felt
probably
like Billy kind of hinted at it though too.
Oh, okay. I thought that this was like the best looking her powers has ever been. Like I've always hated how she runs her powers where she does all the like cuz whenever I see actors do and then they add like glowing things, I can like because I've made movies and I make movies, I could see past the special effects and I just see a person going
Right.
with their hands and it looks stupid to me. So this where she just puts her hands down and then just boom, things are happening. I'm like, okay, that was cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was
And
waiting for.
I want to say this might be the first time in the MCU we've seen telekinesis ever happen, because Billy actually was seeing what they were doing out there.
Right.
That was kind of cool. This is my thing. I love telekinesis. Like anybody who does telekinesis in comics, like that's my jam. So to see that on screen was fantastic.
Well, it's been traditionally a mutant power.
Right.
Like none of the characters we've seen have that kind of ability because they've all got their powers in special circumstances. They haven't
right, like
just been like
the
a
Mind
mutated...
Stone or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
No mutants though yet.
Right.
So here we go. Here we are.
And so
it happened.
She blasted away Pietro, and then Wanda freezes everything and she shoots out the red pulse, and then we get to see all these things change. So like those big lights, they become like it's all becomes circus area. Everything. Like they become circus tents and the guards become clowns and the light banisters and Farragans. The helicopter becomes a hot air balloon. It's really neat seeing it all change to this old-timey stuff.
I loved all of that except for the clowns. I thought the clowns looked goofy as ever.
They're supposed to be goofy. That was the time period. It was Malcolm in the Middle. If you were to go in to
but
a
you're
circus
outside.
and Malcolm in the Middle,
but you're outside of it.
Goofy.
Even the guards who were running away from it were running away in a goofy fashion. And then whenever they turn into clowns, then it's like,
oh, I see.
It looked silly. It didn't look serious. At that point, for that, everything should be pretty serious and scary.
Right.
But these guys are like, it looked
it's like
so
when they
goofy.
It's like when they threw Monica out of the thing and she
it's
flies
just
back.
Oh no! Don't remind us of that. I thought it was fun.
But for the most part, I had to find some things to complain about with this show.
Well, so it was funny because they mentioned of Car Full of Clowns before, that they were referenced as clowns, that they became clowns. I thought that was fun.
And so one kind of interesting thing is that we actually were the thing's expanding, right? And it looks like there's a hard edge. It looks like there's a corner to it.
Right.
I mean, it looks like a hexagon, like not just the little things on the shape, but the entire thing is a hexagon.
Yep. The whole thing is interesting.
They just show a glimpse of it. And so now the people that we know, like our three characters plus what's the dude's name? Director guy. I already forgot. Yeah, Hayward. They avoid the thing encapsulating them. Or Darcy's in it, but the Wu and Monica don't actually get in it, right?
Yeah, exactly. They got away. They're good.
Yeah, so Hayward, Wu, and Monica are still outside of the thing. Darcy's the one inside of it. And so Darcy could potentially have some connection. There's a reason she's in it and the other two aren't. They did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
But then it goes back to Wanda's eye, and it fades back from being red to her normal eye color. And that's the end of the episode.
That's the end, folks.
So good. That was.
And when it ended, I felt
so
kind of anticlimactic, just because of what happened at the last one. And again,
Right,
you have to go back and realize that the X-Men thing is so understated. It's not like just expanding it temporarily. I was like, okay, what's going to happen in the next episode? And then you had to go back and like, I reread my notes and I'm like, okay, and it triggers all these different things. That's why this episode was so interesting. When you first end it, it's not like, oh my God, that was such an amazing episode. But when you go back, it's like, okay. Like,
I felt the same
to
way.
Alex's point, it was fun. It's a really fun episode, but you didn't think there was the depth and gravitas to it that there actually is.
There you go. Very well said. All in all.
If the rest of the show, which I have a feeling it's going to be, if the rest of the show is pretty much like this one, I'm all in. Yeah. Count me in for these. I'll be excited.
Well, nice. I do have some closing thoughts, unless you guys
Ooh.
have something. I drop some knowledge and some questions.
I do remember last week you dropped such good knowledge after we weren't recording. So fans,
Yeah,
I do
so this time
apologize.
I'll keep it here. So let me know. It's okay. I'll keep it here this time. But if you guys have anything else first, let me know. And if not, I'll give you some more.
Oh, no. I'm learning as I go, so don't expect any knowledge out of this fella.
I tried to drop my pieces in while we were going, so I'm intrigued, Prague.
Well, I can't. I have a hard time like reading because I'm old from far away. So I like my notes. I'm like, oh, what was I saying there? So in the scene where Pietro was talking to Wanda about her heaven on earth that she found, he mentioned it as Shangri-La, which I found interesting. That could reference Iron Fist possibly. Hopefully not the same actor that was in Iron Fist. That wasn't a big fan of his. But he specifically said Shangri-La, not like an oasis or heaven on earth or anything like that. He specifically did mention that. So that's interesting. I also found something weird about is an audio issue. And I don't know if it was intentional or not. But I think that everything is intentional on this show. So if that's the case, then it might lead to the theory that the two kids really are Mephistos. It's hard to explain what he does with them in the comics because it's weird. But in the very first scene where we see Wiccan and Speed, his voice is only in one channel if you're wearing headphones or listening to it.
Kind of like your audio.
Yeah. And then in another scene when you hear Billy talk during the trick or treat scene, he's only in one channel. And the first time I heard this, I thought it was a mistake. I thought it was my computer going wrong because, like what Alex said, I have an issue in the past where my computer will only play out of one channel. So I tried it again, and sure enough, no, it was exactly those scenes. And I watched it on other people's reactions, and the same thing happened during those scenes. I even took out my earphones, and it wasn't even coming in through one of the earphones. So it makes me wonder if they're playing off the idea that they're like, the duality of Mephisto, like the right hand and the left hand of Mephisto.
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe I'm looking way too into it, but it was so noticeable. It was almost like a needle scratch to me to hear it only out of one ear.
I wouldn't think to listen to it with headphones. Like when you watch on the TV, it wouldn't be as noticeable if you have like a surround system. Yeah.
Well, and I was watching with subtitles because I had a baby in my arms, so I had subtitles that I'm just reading, so I would never even know what's going on.
Subtitles didn't mention anything like.
It didn't say left ear. Hey Billy, let's go get candy. Right ear. Okay, Tommy.
Well, they would have. I think if it were actually legitimate, they would have done that in the subtitles. So that makes me think that maybe they messed up in the audio mixing.
I can't imagine. No way. No way that would get through, though. It's only a 30-minute episode.
Right?
How many people does that have to go through before it gets out to the public? Like, that's something that's got to be meaningful.
So I don't know. Take note. And then the other thing was when they were playing Dance Dance Revolution, which is a fun little scene, the slippers that Billy was wearing were tiger slippers. So there we are. Tigers again.
Tiger again? Did you get any tiger information?
No, no one told me. No one knows. It seems like even the people that are like good at finding this stuff out have no idea. But there's just way too much tiger references.
Tigre.
But that could go back to the whole Mephisto thing. Like one's attack. I couldn't tell what Speed was wearing, what Timmy was wearing on his feet, like a white something. Could have been a polar bear, maybe. I'm not too sure. So maybe there was polar bears and we just missed the polar bears and only saw the tigers because tigers are more noticeable. So not too sure. Yeah, that's about all I got. That was kind of interesting that I found from the episode that we didn't really mention.
We did mention this kind of after the fact last episode, but I do want to give out a shout out to our listener, Mountain Meg, who said that in the previously on, they've actually changed what, like, I don't know what the actual change is. So do you have more on that?
Yeah, so in the previously on, they changed what Wanda says to Vision about whatever her name was when she was inside the Hex, Monica Rambeau, about how she had to leave. I think the very first time she said it to him like, oh, sorry, honey, she had to go home or something like that. But then it changed to, sorry, she didn't belong here. But there was a third time as well, even before that, where she said it differently. So 3 different times she said that line completely different. So that means maybe there's someone else editing the whole grand scheme of things. I think that's almost like a subtle way of saying, like, yeah, she edits the show part of it, but maybe the grander show that we're watching is being edited by the bigger big bad.
Which
Not too sure.
goes into the idea: what if the outside is part of the show?
Exactly. Yep.
Nope. Too much to think about. No. I don't want it. I don't want it. No.
Oh, I did have a thought though. This is more just me being silly. What if Sword had got Vision's body because they want to make Sentinels for the future to take on these powered individuals? Just a
I
thought.
can see that too.
Yep.
Sentinels
The
are
guy
pretty
sure
great.
hates powered people. Made a note of it several times how much he hates powered people. So could be that he's building the
Well,
Sentinels on
guys,
Vision's body.
This has just been beautiful.
Right?
What a
That's
good
all.
episode, huh?
Stay tuned for more.
Well, I
Yeah.
honestly think at this point it's uphill. That's kind of how it's been going. It started super low, and now it's just skyrocketing for me.
Maybe they did that on purpose for you, Alex.
I saw one of the creative directors said they were unsure how fans would react if they could last long enough through the first part of the episodes.
And
that was the thing they were most nervous about.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many people that just checked out after episode 3 that they were like, oh, well, this isn't for me. And that they're missing all this extra bits. I mean, obviously, like, big-time comic geeks and nerds and stuff like that are going to want to keep going. But, like, people who don't read the comics, you know?
Yeah, people who only watch the MCU movies, I think would have had a tough time keeping going.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah, fair point. But yeah, I'm glad they
hopefully
finally got
you aren't that if you listen to our podcast and you're all in, because the show keeps getting better.
Yeah, and we need the numbers to grow on our
we need those numbers to go up.
So be sure to stay tuned to our continuing watch of WandaVision. We only got 7, 8, and 9 left. And
what are we gonna do
this
next?
is your host, Trevor, and we'll talk to you next time. Go X-Men.
Go.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.